There is the man that he is up against. Motorsport's all about rivalries. It's what made the movie Rush so great. And Cameron, this is a rivalry in the making, although they're both still teenagers, a long future ahead of them.
Certainly do. Jordan Lloyd back from a short stint in the US in Formula Ford 2000 over there. Thomas Randall, as he mentioned, Formula Ford, also a bit of sport sedans. And 5 championship points for pole. So that just bridges the gap. Every point's going to count, and that works in Randall's favour, grabbing those 5.
It's a very good point as they head off on their formation lap. Round 3, the championship has made its way down south to Sydney. Started in Townsville, went down to Ipswich. Now we're here. Randall had pole position in Ipswich, I should say, but couldn't convert that first race. That one went to Jordan Lloyd, his championship rival. Lloyd has 4 race wins this year. Will Brown has 1. Tom Randall has 1. And is it going to be another Jordan Lloyd affair, because he was the quickest in the dry practice sessions yesterday by a mile, although Randall was hampered with 1 or 2 alternator issues, I think it was, with his car, which kept him a little bit behind the pace. There they are, warming some Hankook tyres up. The front row, as it's been so far for the majority of the year, is Randall and Lloyd. Lewis leads, 15 years of age. He'll start off the inside of row 2 alongside Will Brown, the winner of the first ever race. Nick Rowe only got 1 good hot lap in that qualifying session, so he needs to make the most of starting off the 5th row here, because it's likely that for race 3 he'll be a bit further back. Drew Ridge has 2 new tyres on the right hand side to help him try and drive to the inside of the top 6, which is where we take the invert for race 2. We're expecting those grandstands to fill up across the weekend. There's also some nice park and view areas around Sydney Motorsport Park, and it's not an overly long run to the first corner, but the good thing here for Jordan Lloyd is he can hang on the outside of turn 1. It is a multi-line corner.
Also, Chad, what you're going to have to watch here for the drivers is rolling at the start. Predominantly the grid is downhill. In fact, the further you get back, the worse that angle is. So they're going to be holding the foot on the brake, the part of their heel onto the throttle. So we'll have to watch it no one gets caught for a jump start here, because it's just really easy to creep over that line.
Red lights are on. Round 3, race 1. And it's Randall alongside Lloyd. Good start for the 2 of them. Lloyd wants to creep over and take the line. They're wheel to wheel, and they've absolutely gapped the field towards turn 1. I think Lloyd may have just swung his rear wing in front, and he has got there, but can Randall get him back at turn 2? A few guys going defensive. It was Will Brown up the inside, or Gretsch going late onto brakes. Nearly makes contact with Hayek. Actually, it was Goddard, and I think he did give him a small tap, because Goddard slid out wide through the mid part of turn 2. But Lloyd, Randall leads your top 3. The front 2 in the championship, front 2 of this race, as we expected it might be. And some serious dicing going on in the back. Keep an eye on Jordan Love. He's been off the first lap of the first race in every race so far this year. And he's getting passed there by Drew Ridge, who's got fresh tyres down the right side. And Ridge is going to go defensive at turn 6. And unfortunately, Jordan Love will have to fall in behind him.
Interesting that there was a slight bit of contact potentially between Gretsch and Goddard, because they came together in practice yesterday. Unfortunately, Goddard just tagged the back and turned him round, so perhaps it was a little bit of a
payback.
Maybe. It was only slight, and there's always potential for a little bit of contact in turn 2 down there at bottlenecks, but it's really on here between Lewis Leeds and Will Brown. Will Brown was in the top 3 every session, qualified 4th, so he's certainly got strong speed this weekend, right from the get-go. Let's see what he can do with the toe down the front straight here.
Jordan Lloyd will lead the first lap through. He's got a couple car lengths over Randall, but the battle for 3rd is an interesting one. Will needs to get as close as he can to that gearbox ahead of him and maybe have a shot at turn 2. Can he keep it flat through turn 1? That's the first tip. Looks like not a lot of aero wash there. Up the inside at turn 2 is the shot. Good battle going on further down the field as well. It's Nick Rowe and Harry Hayek fighting for 8th. And Brown couldn't sneak through that time.
Vernon's made a great start, so he's moved up a couple of spots into P5 at the moment, just ahead of his AGI Sport teammate Tom Gretsch. Zane Goddard's recovered up into 7th. Nick Rowe has dropped back a couple. He's down in P8. Let's have a replay of the start. So Harry Hayek missed the jump there, back on the 3rd row, but look at this, just kept squeezing.
Oh, had him on the curb almost. Oh, they touched. Goodness me, that could have been massive.
That was lucky, you know, for Lloyd, because he could have easily got a puncher there. So there's the slow starting Harry Hayek on the right.
Oh, 4 wide.
Great start by Jimmy Vernon. Look at that. Got right up behind his teammate.
Now watch Gretsch here, because the guy in front of him makes contact with Goddard. He went so late on the brakes that he hits the back of the blue car here. And Vernon will probably get both of them. Thank you. Nice. What a start.
Made up about 4 spots there. Good first lap.
Incredible.
So it was only slight contact, but certainly there was between Gretsch and Goddard there. And these two are going to be very quick. 32.16 versus 32.07. So Randall takes the Formula 4 race lap record to kick things off. And they're going to trade fastest laps at the front. It's going to be a great battle with 3rd, 4th and 5th between Leeds, Brown and Vernon on board with Lewis Leeds.
Will Brown just dropping off a little bit, almost into the clutches of Jimmy Vernon. This has freed up Lewis Leeds to just focus on hitting his markers, doesn't have to look too much in his mirrors now. The battle for the lead is well and truly alive. We saw Jordan Lloyd just shake, if you will, Tom Randall across the course of a race in Ipswich. That's what he'll try and do here, break his spirit, get a few more points ahead of him in the championship. So at Ipswich it went Lloyd, Randall, Lloyd in terms of the race wins. And at the moment it's Lloyd leading Randall in race 1 as Vernon flat through turn 7. Lovingly known as Corporate Hill, because that part of the track used to have all the sponsor boards around it, up on the hill.
This car looks a lot better than yesterday, Chad. We did a couple of laps on board with Jimmy, and he was really busy hanging onto it. They put it down to just old tyres. So hard to know when you're on old practice tyres, but it looks like it's working a lot nicer for him. It's a lot more precise on the steering wheel, picking up the throttle a lot smoother today. And looking quite racy there. You can just see that battle up in front. Will Brown, the white car, just a little bit up the road. So last time around, 32.6 for Vernon, 32.0 for Will Brown.
Yeehaw. 200 k's an hour, flat out, through turn 1 in 6th gear. Oh, he's going down the left-hand side, which means he must be under attack. And he is, from Tom Gretsch, who unfortunately makes a mistake and lets Goddard through. He was on the charge there, wasn't he? We just saw Vernon move over to the left-hand side of the track, which meant that there was someone in his mirrors distracting him.
It's actually worked out well for him, though, because that small mistake by Gretsch has allowed Goddard through and given Vernon a bit of breathing space. Let's have a look from the outside.
Well, he was almost a little bit paranoid that he'd run at the back of Vernon, I think.
Definitely. Yep. And just sort of rolled off the brake. Looked like it just moved around a little bit in the braking zone, so maybe just a slight bit of rear lock, got off the brake to stop that and try and avoid contact, because that wouldn't be the conversation you'd want when their teammates pitted up next to each other in the garage.
He's already gone a little bit deep and touched up Zane down there as well, so he didn't want to go doing that again down at turn 2. Here's Hayek in the blue car, white helmet, closing in on Nick Rowe. Go back on board with Lewis Leeds in 3rd, and Will Brown trying to pull him back here. Although it's only 600 separating them on this lap in terms of speed.
The yellow car this weekend for Lewis, so we mentioned in yesterday's coverage, grabbing the support of Preston Hire this weekend. So a big activation for that company, also supporting Lee Holdsworth V8
yep.
supercar. Very distinctive colour scheme. And Lewis doing a good job holding down P3. Been juggling a little bit of Formula Ford and Formula 4 this season, so getting plenty of open wheeler racing miles, which is clearly putting him in good stead. They're just dropping back a little bit. They're about 2.5 to 3/10 of a lap off the pace of those first two out in front, Lloyd and Randall. But this battle is really heating up. Tom Gretsch, the IQ option, Miguel, all over the back now of Zane Goddard.
Oh, that's just filling the mirrors. That's the old, just trying to distract him, get in that left mirror, make him think that it might be there. Maybe he'll miss his braking marker. Aggressive stuff. Cool helmet livery as well for Tom Gretsch. He said yesterday it looks a bit like Jorge Lorenzo's in MotoGP. A bit of like an astronaut's helmet almost. See, tucks back in behind Goddard. Hayek almost had a crack at getting around Nick Rowe. Just tucked up right behind him last lap through. could make it stick there. We're already a third of the way through the first race. A few battles that are going to be on for the course of the next 10 laps, I think, including this one. Good exit for Gretsch. This is the time. You're a brave man if you want to go up the inside at turn 1, but he's going to do it. Now we'll see if they can both go flat out through here.
That was interesting, Chad. He tried to pull out, but wasn't really to take any advantage out of the slipstream at all. So he actually pulled out and went slower, had to pull back in and try and stay in the tow. So wasn't able to tow past at all, which is good and bad. Bad from the perspective of the car trying to overtake, but great to show that there's very, very little, if anything, between the engines. So the 1.6 litre Ford EcoBoost turbo engine, brand new at the start of this season, and very little in the balance of performance, which is a good sign for the category. So last time round it was a 31.65 for Jordan Lloyd, 31.76 for Thomas Randall. So there's only 3 tenths between them. So that battle's going to go right on with still 10 laps remaining.
This is what I love about open wheel racing when it's this close at the front. There is the battle. It's still on for first and it's still on for third. And is this a shot for Will Brown under brakes here? Stay with him. Because they're about to get onto the straight. Bit of a slide for leads, and that might just give Will Brown a sniff if he gets a good exit. Tuck in behind him. But will he experience the same problems that Gretsch had when you pull out of the slipstream and hit that dirty air? It's almost like a bit of a brick wall. Just can't quite get close to it.
No, definitely not. But this is where it could happen. It'll depend on the run out of here. Will Lewis keep the inside run, or will he see moving, blocking? Oh! Down the outside. Will he pull it off?
Oh, that is good stuff. It's close contact made, and they both keep going. How about that? Are these open wheelers or touring cars?
Well, there's a big mark in the side pod of the Cars Galore car. Let's have a look. Gee, that was a big move under brakes by Will Brown. Watch this. He actually goes to the outside so he doesn't hit him. Oh, pulls out.
I think Lewis braked a little bit earlier than he was expecting there. So here's the contact. Oh, there's one for Carl Reindler to sort out. Our driving standards observer, I guess you could kind of say.
Very good of Lewis to straighten him up, though. Says, listen, I'll help you here.
Oh, that could have been huge right there.
And you know what? I think Will maybe just turned in when Lewis was still there. I mean, admittedly, he's up on the ripple strip, but Lewis still had overlap on the inside there. So, to be honest, I reckon you blow the whistle and say, play on, boys. Fair's fair.
It's still going.